Hey everybody, this is Chris and I'm bringing you the video I really did not want to have to bring you guys. And you've already read the title and seen the thumbnail picture attached to it. That Zino 2 I have hanging on the wall over there is bricked. Not a place I want to be. I'm looking at it as positive as I can, but it's kind of hard. Um, On the positive side, it's a isolated issue. At least at this point, it seems to be an isolated issue, not a defect or anything like that. It possibly could be something with the installation tool for updating your firmware on the computer, not wirelessly through the app, because that's where the problem came up. That's where it popped up. So I'm going to get into all of that. So that's mainly what the video is about, but I also am going to stress, don't panic. I don't see this as a defective unit. I don't see this as a widespread problem. I've spoke to other people that have their Xenos. They've done the update successfully through the app. Nobody that I know yet has tried it on the computer. I'm the only one that I know of, just because there's not a lot out there. But that's where my problem happened. I first did the update on the app and everything was fine. I wanted to try out the installation tool on the computer, and that's where my problem came. So we'll discuss all that. But again, I just want to stress, don't panic. It's not time to say, hey, I'm canceling my order. I don't want this. It's a huge mistake. I don't think it is. And we're going to discuss the flight I had prior to bricking it. Fortunately, I was able to fly a full battery before I bricked it, because I did the one thing I tell everybody to do or not to do, and that's don't update your firmware straight out of the box. Take it out of the box, do what you're supposed to do, which we'll get into, and just take it out and fly it and test it. Then if you feel like you need to do a firmware update, or it's important, whatever that update offers, if that's important to you, then do your update, and then you have some data and something to compare to. So we'll get further into that. But first, I just want to point out something really cool. If you noticed in my other video where I was kind of giving my little introduction on the Zino 2, all this behind me here has changed for the better, and no more just blank slate. But the newest addition, which I'm very excited about and I think is the best part of this whole wall, is the QC logo. And a big shout out to one of my subscribers, one of my members, somebody who's become, or I consider to be, a dear friend now. His name is Buzz. That's what he wants me to address him as, Buzz. That's his nickname. He took the time to make that for me on a CNC machine. And then what he did is he did a rusting process. He did instant rust by treating it and making it rust. And then later changed it to where he put a clear coat on top of that, like a varnish on top of that, just like you would do with like a bar top, because that rust really needs to sit there. If you're making rust yourself, it's going to want to flake off. If you let it sit outside for a long, long time, it's going to be natural and it's going to really be stuck and adhered to the metal. In this case, it wanted to flake off, so he did this treatment. And I'll give you a close-up of it. It's pretty heavy metal there, but you can see the gloss. And one thing I might have to do, I might have to flatten that down a little bit with a clear coat of a semi-gloss, or maybe a flat coat, because I did notice setting up to do this video today, the glare from my LED lights in front of me were glaring off of it, and I had to position them just right, or I would have a big like circle. You see that circle on the logo. So if I flatten that out a little bit, that'll go away. It looks really good glossy like that. But I think with the rust, give you a nice close-up with the rust, a flat might look maybe a little more natural as well. So, but this is by far the best thing on that wall behind me. And I really want to just the shout out to Buzz and just thank you so much, because it's people like you that, I mean, you took hours and days in making this. It's people like you in this hobby that really make it a good thing. Doing all this that I do, interacting with people, you get a lot of jugheads out there. You get a lot of people that kind of bring you down, and then there's nice, positive, selfless, caring people like you who have donated to my charities, who have just been there as a friend to talk to, and gone and done something like this. So wonderful, wonderful person to do that. Another person I want to give a shout out to, I don't know if you even want me to say your name, but I'm going to say it. My buddy Renee in Canada, this issue I'm having with my Zino 2, originally I was thinking maybe something happened with the controller or the update in the controller process. The dude just, no questions asked, said, hey, I want to send you my controller so you can test it and rule that out. Puts his controller in the mail from Canada and ships it here to the US to me to test with my Zino. So I don't have it yet. It's showing up today, and then today I'm leaving to go to Virginia to be with my mom, who is battling cancer. I'm going to be with her for a week, and I'm going to take his controller with me and then test some things out there and see if I can rule that out, which I really don't think it is the controller now, but thank you so much for doing that for me, Renee. Again, it's people like you that just make this hobby a great thing as far as this, you know, in the world of interacting through YouTube and through social groups or just private messaging and, you know, forming friendships and things like that. It's a nice change from, you know, all the trolls that you get and the jugheads and, you know, this real stupid comments that you get on your channel, which now any comment like that I don't need in my life. There's a lot going on in my life right now, so those type of comments and those type of people, you just get deleted. You have no voice on my channel anymore. I used to leave that kind of stuff and just let other people see what a jerk you are, but now you get one shot and then I just delete. So not that I'm trying to control content, it's just I don't need that in my life right now. So great people. And you know, speaking of great people, let's get the drama out of the way before we get into the actual issue of my brick Zino and the pros from the flight I was able to have with it. I want to address, somebody says that I'm biased, or a few comments that said I'm biased because I got the Zino 2 for free. I am not biased whatsoever. The last thing I think that Hubsan wants me to do, just based on talking to them, they don't want me to publish a video like this showing anything negative with the Zino 2. And that's why I'm stressing that I do think it's kind of isolated, mainly because I am the only one with this problem right now. So you can't say that it is a big problem. If it happened to a whole bunch of people, if 50 people got it and then 10 have this problem, that's a big deal. So right now it's just isolated, and I am not biased whatsoever just because I got it for free. I am not going to bend for any company, any affiliate, and just try to please them. So, you know, maybe they might not want to ever send me anything in the future. I don't know, but that's no big deal. I'll just buy my own. The most important thing here is getting you guys the information, and what information I'm going to give you should help you to decide what to do once you get your Zino out of the box and try to avoid something like this or something else that could happen just by making one simple little mistake. So in my case, I don't know that it was a mistake on my part. It was a mistake on my part in doing what I did, but something was wrong in the process that caused it. So the other thing I want to address is something that just boils my blood, and you know, it goes on the part about being biased. A channel that would be biased would be good old Marcus Crawford from I don't know quadcopters. From that YouTube channel, that is biased. When you do a video for Hubsan Zino update that says kudos to Hubsan, great strides on this project, really, or on this quad for really improving the product, and then showing nothing and talking about the problems it has, that's a little double standard there. And repeatedly saying, well, at least 4 times I know of, like on Zeno Nation, saying, you know, they should send me one for free, or they should send us one for free for all that we do. All you do is kind of sugarcoat, and you don't really tell the truth, and you fumble along in your videos, learning as you go. A company doesn't recognize that as a resource to help sell their quad. And the reason I'm pointing out I don't know quadcopter, Marcus Crawford, is something that just boils my blood, and I'm addressing it right here. I'm choosing this video to address it right here because I think people should know it. I've seen it in writing, and then another person has confirmed something else that I'm going to point out, that my saying that my mother has cancer and my charities that I do for children that are fighting cancer, it was said, and I've read it all in the messages that Marcus was having with somebody else, that my saying this is to gain subscribers. And for me to sit here calmly and not really get out of control is hard to do, because it's sick. That is just the sickest thing you could say. And I would be an extremely sick person to sit here and say my mom has cancer when she doesn't. She does have cancer. My mom has terminal cancer. Every time I spend with her is another last. So for you to say something like that, you are a sick son of a you-know-what. And to discredit my charities for children that have cancer, which you wouldn't even donate to if I asked, is just as sick. So any of you guys want to really test the true Marcus Crawford from I don't know quadcopter, unsubscribe to that channel and see what you get. I think he might change his tune and actually try and not do what he's doing, which is discredit other channels that he thinks he's in competition with, or trying to, you know, get more subscribers than them. Somebody who, like me, gave him a majority, not a majority, but a huge portion of his subscribers by letting him be in my Facebook group and flooding it with all of his videos, which is not what my Facebook group's about. It's about help and support. It's not about networking. And then constantly commenting on all my videos with, you know, just comments to show, hey, I'm here, everybody, come look at my channel. If you click that unsubscribe button, you might see a different Marcus. He might actually try to put out good content and stop playing the games and being biased with the things he does. You're biased when you praise a product but still point out its problems, but you praise the company. That makes absolutely no sense. Or you just put out content to put out content, like let's compare the Mavic Mini with the Paradenofi, which is no comparison whatsoever. And I think a majority of the people that watch that aren't his typical cheerleaders, a majority of the people that watch that video know that is not a comparison that you make. Two completely different quads. It's the reason for that is to put out content because as a YouTuber, you need to put out as much content as you possibly can, keep the views going, keep the thumbs ups going, and then that paycheck stays good and green. So based on his videos that he puts out and his views and all that, I imagine he's banking about a $400 a month paycheck off of your subscriptions and your thumbs ups and your praise. So take that away from him, and maybe we'll see a better person. Maybe he needs an eye opener. But to discredit my mom having cancer, which is a terminal cancer, knowing that I'm going to lose her, which could be within this year, oh, it's sick. It's just sick. And just as sick is, just discrediting the fact that these charities I do, where I've donated $3,000 in total so far to children's hospitals for free care funding. $3,000 that these kids don't need to, their parents don't need to worry about paying for their bills. $3,000 for me isn't a lot, but a bunch of people do it, which my doing it hopefully brings awareness for more people to do it. That's huge. So don't discredit that crap. You discredit that kind of crap, you're going to get my attention. I've read the messages, and another person I've been talking to that you might think is your friend confirmed that you told them it was something you were just kind of insinuating. You weren't saying as fact. Insinuating it is just as sick, and you're just a sick son of a you-know-what. So that's complete BS, and you've got my attention now, buddy. So let's get away from all that drama. Sorry, don't like to start a video out that way, but if you know me, I will not hold back. I'll tell you how I feel, and I will expose BS like that. So let's get on to the brick. But first, the positive parts of it. I did get a full battery flight out of it, and I didn't go out for range. That was one of the next things I wanted to do. But I flew a full battery, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to check, like, how well the optic flow sensors worked, how it did with low altitude, if it had a descent or anything like that. And it did very well. I had some concerns with the controller of some things not working, like the FN button or the flight speeds, the FNS button. And I was surprised with that those worked out as well. I think those were some of the things Hubsan was working on that delayed the project. And I'm happy that they delayed it if that's what it took to fix those. Because we don't like to get a product with a bunch of things not working. We expect some features and things not to work, but when the buttons don't work, that's something that bothers you more than anything. So I'm happy to say everything works on the controller. You have the FN button does multiple features. We're not going to get into all that, but they've also utilized channels where you hold it down and then move your toggle wheel this way or that way, and it will do different features as well. And I believe that that can be found in the manual itself. So I'll post a PDF underneath this video in the description of the user manual if you have not read it or seen it, and then you can see features like that, so we don't drag out the video for that, since I've already kind of wasted your time here. But in that flight, I took it at low altitude. I wanted to be around 5 meters high, so I was in normal mode. I flew full throttle forward. I never lost any altitude. I took wide and tight bank turns. Didn't lose anything significant that I could see as far as altitude, so that's good. The other thing I wanted to see was an optic flow sensor. If you put your hand under it, it will give resistance, which it did. Then I took, like, this, pretend this is my rooftop of my house. I flew it in film mode very slow, and I came very close, and it actually resisted. When it saw that little bit of distance underneath it, it sees that as ground, and it will resist. So that's exactly what it did. That tells me the optic flow is working. I'm very happy to see that, because this is a first for Hubsan. They've never done optic flow, so they've done a good job with that. So thumbs up on that one. And thumbs up on the fact that everything is working here. Your film mode is a creeper. It is so slow. but that's perfect for your cinematic shots. When you're up on your subject and you want to keep it slow and fluid, that's your mode. Normal mode is kind of your typical Zino Pro mode, except they took away the autonomous settings, if you want to call them that, where we could adjust our yaw and such on the app. They took that away. At least for normal mode, I would like to see that return, because I like slowing down the yaw. Taking it at a normal, what they're calling normal mode, and flying it and then turning, you might get a little bit of a jerk if you're not careful on your sticks. And if you adjust the yaw down, you can control all that. Sport mode, that's something to get used to, and I don't think you want to adjust your yaw on that, because you're going very fast, and if you slow your yaw down, you're near a tree or something, you're not going to take that turn hard enough, you're going to crash it. But sport mode is a beast, and it is something to get used to. Before you venture into sport mode, make sure you are in a wide open area, no trees, no buildings, no people, nothing, just wide open spaces. Put it in sport mode and you are going to have a good time with the Zino. It's loud, it's fast, and it's just badass. I think you will really enjoy it. I wish I could have enjoyed it more, but what I got out of it, I was very excited. So it almost sounded like a flying weed whacker up in the sky because it was loud. It's real loud when you're like full throttle and you back off, and that different prop wash makes different noises. It's not something you're going to fly overhead and nobody's going to know you're there. It's pretty loud, so pretty loud in comparison to what we're used to with the Zino. So that being said, go over a few things, just make sure I got it. I went over the optic flow, the low flight, everything was fine there. Had a little bit of a pushback, meaning that it's doing its thing. The gimbal horizon issue, I saw it, but it's not something that sticks. The gimbal horizon would be off a little bit, but then it gets right back. It seemed with the new firmware update that it wasn't there, but I didn't fly. Just holding it and looking at it, everything seemed to be perfectly fine. So I can't say that the new firmware that they have on the website resolves this issue, but I can tell you they have addressed it, saying that they have fixed it in the next coming firmware update, but they're working on other things as well. So, plus we're in Chinese New Year and this awful coronavirus plague they have going on. So there's delays in everything. Your delivery, updates, things like that. It's a sensitive topic where people are very sick or dying, and the best thing is just be patient, just wait on it, and let China get things sorted out. It's a mess over there. But there are people working at Hubsan right now. They've been working with me on my issue. They're trying to recreate that issue, trying to give me something to fix it. And then hopefully I'll have that on my channel here when that comes. But that gimbal horizon issue, supposedly that is a fix in the next update, hopefully. And because that's all you're going to hear about if not, and it is something that is annoying, although it doesn't stick, so that's good. If you're just flying straight, it doesn't happen. As soon as you turn, that's when it happens, and that tells me it has something to do with the correspondence between it and the gyro. There's just something that needs to be tweaked there. So seems like that's a simple firmware update issue. The other thing is, that's it. I mean, that's really all I've done. The camera quality on it I thought was good, but nothing great to look at because it was a very overcast, gray, kind of dim day. There was no sun shining or anything like that. In winter, there's no green, there's no color, there's nothing. So that was like the worst day to try to get camera quality. So there is other videos out there where people are starting to show some camera quality. You've got the Hubsan Zino 2 on the Hubsan official website showing the night flights, which are impressive. I'm told that night mode is a preset. It's all preset. You put it in night mode and it's supposed to supposedly gives you your optimal settings, which is a 4K 30 frames per second for night mode, and then whatever the other things are set at, your shutter speed and all that. So if you don't like night mode and you want to tweak it a little bit, you have to take it out of night mode, do all your settings manually, and tweak it to your liking. So for me, I live in the mountains, and at night it's dark. There's nothing to look at. I'm not a night mode person, so you won't really get that from me. Let's grab the brick. Here she is. I've already taken the gimbal cover off, but first thing I'm going to do is just tell you what happened. I updated it with the app. First thing I did is I got the app to the prompt telling me the controller needed updated. I did the update. It went through perfectly fine. Had a little bit of a pause there that concerned me, but it went through perfectly fine. Did the manual reset. That's the one thing I don't like, is I would prefer it just reset or reboots on its own. You have to manually reboot it. That leaves room for human error if you reboot yourself and do it at the wrong time. So I wish it would reboot itself. But that update seemed to go through okay. It wasn't until I got to the computer where I had a problem. But I did the update through the app as well on the quad. Everything seemed to go through perfectly fine, no problems. I had a little bit of delay there that concerned me, and I just sat there staring and staring and staring at the controller progress on the app, and finally it was done. And then I reboot the quad, and everything bound up. I had FPV. First thing I wanted to do was look at my gimbal. I'm moving the camera, or I'm moving the quad around and going like this to see if I'd get it to lock or stick, and everything seemed to be okay. So I did not take it out and fly it. I wanted to try the update process on the computer, which is where it all happened. So they have a firmware upgrade tool. It's a lot different than what we're used to, but same thing. It updates your quad on the computer, which now you're able to do on iOS as well. So you can take your Apple laptop, supposedly. I have not tested this, but you can supposedly update the Zino 2 with a Apple product and a PC. So I opened up the tool, got the files downloaded from the Hubsan website, plugged into the computer, did exactly like their video tutorial showed me. And my idea in doing that was for me to make a video to put on my channel and just test out the tool itself. So as I'm updating the Zino 2 on the computer, I hit a huge void. It just sat there frozen. It did nothing. It concerned me, and I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited. I waited a long time, gave it all the time in the world. My computer wasn't frozen, just the tool itself was frozen. So I had no choice but to shut down. So I shut it down, unhooked from the computer, closed the program, shut everything down, restarted everything, the program, the quad, connection to the computer, restarted the update, and it went through and seemed to be perfectly fine. Everything went through like it showed in their video. The only different part was in the end of their video it says, I forgot what it says, success, I think, or ready. And mine said the opposite. Mine, I think, said success, and theirs said finished or something like that. But that was the only thing different. But it gave me every indication that everything was perfectly fine. So I go to turn it on, it won't bind. And then I notice on the side, and I'll show you, on the side, if you update your quad and you get a solid green light, that tells you that your update was unsuccessful. So you just re-update it, and that should resolve the problem. And then if you get, I have it written down, if you get a solid yellow, that's when you have a successful update. So when you turn it on, I think you see a little bit of a green flash, and then you want to see a solid yellow, and that tells you update successful. In my case, I'll show you. Hopefully you can see it here. It's a tiny light. you'll see a solid green first. Then we get yellow and red. That yellow and red flash is not what you want to see. That means we are not transmitting. Now, Hubsan didn't know this at the time, but through my problem and them talking to me and seeing my videos and everything I've sent them, we've learned that this is just, it's not transmitting. Doesn't necessarily tell me I have a bad update. It's just telling me I'm not transmitting. So this is totally a new problem to them that they did not foresee or have not had happen. So this is something they have to recreate and figure out the solution for. So I'm the test dummy here, and hopefully there will be a resolve in this problem. Now, again, you don't want to see that flashing light, and I don't want to alarm everybody. This is an isolated problem as far as we know. But the thing to stress here is don't panic. Don't go canceling your order. Don't think, oh, this is going to happen to me. It's going to happen to everybody. It's not. The people I've already talked to, I've told you, have updated through the app, no problem. The only thing I would urge is maybe not updating on the computer right now. Let's make sure that's not a problem. That may be the issue. It could just be a fluke thing. It could be just an issue where something just went wrong at the right time on mine and muffed up that whole update process and has me bricked temporarily, hopefully. So I would not panic and go canceling your order and all that. The other thing is, I just want to stress, when you get your Zino 2, take it out of the box. This is the most important advice I can give you. Take it out of the box, put it on a flat level surface. After you've charged up your controller and your battery, power it on, do a horizontal calibration, do a gimbal calibration, and then when you take it out to fly, do a compass calibration. Do not update your firmware. Go fly it, test it. Treat that first flight like a test. Check everything out that's important in flying a quad. Stability, don't worry so much about features and things like that. The important parts of the quad that, you know, are its main staple. And then if you feel like you need to update that firmware, if that firmware is offering you something you have to have, or your Zino is doing something you don't like a bad gimbal, and you think that firmware is going to resolve the issue, that's when you want to update your quad. But the reason you don't update it first, everybody makes the mistake of getting it, updating it, taking it out, then they have a problem and they don't know. It's hard to narrow down that problem. If you've flown it with its original firmware, paid attention to everything and flew that first flight like a test, then updated that firmware and find a problem, you at least know, okay, well, I didn't have this problem before. It's the firmware previous to this. So the only problem there is the firmware that your quad came with is not available anywhere. You have to message Hubsan and have them send it to you. The only firmware that's available is what's on the website, which is what you've updated to. So you really want to pay attention there, and if you do have an issue and need to flash back to older firmware, you're going to have to contact Hubsan. But the important thing is spotting a problem and narrowing it down to firmware or a hardware issue. So I stress, do not update your firmware first thing. The Hubsan firmware that they're sending, or the Hubsan Zino 2 firmware they're sending you out of the box, it flew perfectly fine for me. It should fly fine for you. They're not sending it to you with bad firmware. So don't make that your top priority. Keeping your Zino from being a brick or wrecking, crashing it into something, falling out of the sky, whatever, that is the only thing you should really be concerned about. And the other thing I'll tell you is if you have a bad connection with your battery, it also tells you, like, if you're not fully connected, if you didn't snap this in all the way, it tells you you have a bad connection with your battery. So that's good too. and these lock in good. I know people are concerned with this battery hanging on the bottom. These lock in tight. It's not easy to get that battery out. It takes a lot. And you'll know it once you own one and have it in your hands. It locks very, very good. If you're that concerned, get you a Velcro strap to wrap around it just to be safe. That's the only advice I could give you on that. But the important thing is, back to the firmware, don't rush to update that firmware. I'm not saying the firmware is bad, but in my case, it's why I have a brick. It's because I updated my firmware. It's because I updated it twice. You're allowed to do that, but I got it right the first time. I should have stopped there, not worried about doing it on the computer or making an update video for you guys, which is what I was doing. So I was curious to see how it worked, and I also wanted to make an update video. So that failed, and I have a bricked quad. And let's look at it positive, because you know I'm the type of person that once I learn how to fix something, it gets published. And if this is a problem that does happen to other people, it will be published here on my video or on my channel in the form of a video, and you'll have a fix for this problem if it happens to you. So I think that's it. I think we've covered everything. We've got the gimbal horizon issue, went through the speed modes. That's something I tested. I'm happy with everything, other than the fact that my quad is bricked. And the other thing too is, while it's in the state that it's in, if you have had a problem with the firmware update and you want to double check if there is an issue there, go into your Wi-Fi settings on your device, and if it says Hubsan Recovery, you have a problem. When I go into my Wi-Fi settings on my device, it says Hubsan Recovery, which means it's just not functioning properly, and it needs to be fixed. That Wi-Fi address, it's not going to fix anything for you. It doesn't do anything for you. It just alerts you that there is an issue, and it's not transmitting is what it is. So it's transmitting that alert, but it's not transmitting that full lease transmission system, as best as I can tell, to give you what you need to bind. So I'm going to try the transmitter that Renee sent me. When it gets here, it's going to get here today, and I'm going to take it to Virginia with me. I'm going to try that. That might be the fix. Hopefully that is the fix. I do think it lies within the quad though, and it's going to take more time with Hubsan to get that resolved, but we'll find out. So that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this went on a little longer than I wanted. We're going to be about 40 minutes here. So I apologize. I'm sorry for the rant in the beginning of this video, but it has to be said. People like that shouldn't be able to get away with giving you this fake front and then pulling the crap that they pull in the background. So at least not when it involves me and parts of my life or things I'm involved with. So that's going against my character, and that's not something I'm going to put up with. So all you newcomers, this might have been a bit too much for you, but click that subscribe button. Everybody that's not a subscriber, click that subscribe button, and make sure when you do, hit that bell, and then after that hit the word all, and you'll get updates on future content. When there's a solution to this issue here, it will be something I throw up on my channel right away. So you want that notification just so you know what the problem is. And if you see anybody else with that problem, you can help them out. And that's what's important here, helping everybody else out. Take what you've learned here, help yourself, and help others. And keep everybody in a positive way with the hobby. So. And everybody else that subscribes to my channel, thank you very much. And as always, on your way out, hit that thumbs up. And following this video will be a video just to show you all my all my giveaways. I'm going to get rid of them all. I'm just going to get them all done. So those will be kind of my focus. And I want to share something exciting with you about what I'm doing with my Skydio 2 or what I've done with my Skydio 2, I'm going to share that with you. That'll be upcoming on my channel. So that's something definitely to watch because that's a big deal and something I'm very happy with. So click that subscribe button and we'll catch you on the next video.